offering not one, but two rotating reps this year. The first rotating rep, you could call, if you had to link the plays together, you could call it Broken Promises. It's Antony and Cleopatra, The Winter's Tale, and The Merchant of Venice.
Seth, the artistic director, is in the great tradition, which certainly Orson and even Olivia kind of belong to, of the actor-manager, which, you know, I believe in the actor-manager so long as the actor-manager can act and can manage, which Seth can do. Seth is one of the best actors I know.
I've seen Seth do this type of thing before last year when I saw Macbeth and Richard II. And so I know that that's sort of his setup. In general, there is sort of a you know, oh gosh, can someone do that? He's actually the second person I've done that with, so I'm familiar with that setup, and I feel like as long as that person can handle it, it could be a wonderful thing. So, and I've seen him do it, so I total trust there.
He's taken on all these great roles, and he wants to keep on doing that, and he gathers around him these really good actors, and they do these great plays, and there should be more of this kind of thing.
Antony and Cleopatra, I've never done before.
Seth and I had a conversation about the play. He had never played Antony. I've always, it's been my dream role, and so we sort of talked about perhaps co-producing it, and it sort of developed into being a piece in his rotating repertory for the fall.
It is a very large play. You have Mark Antony, you have Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, you have Octavius Caesar, one of the triumvirs of Rome, all these huge personalities.
The play is about two mature lovers that are sort of caught up in this political turmoil, and they're torn apart in the end.
A bunch of people with way too much power not realizing the effect that it has on their people, which I'm sure is relevant today.
So, sex, love, politics. You know, it's 2012. What better time for it? An election year.
And it's also a love story. It's one of the best love stories in Shakespeare. Antony in this play is a big hulking bear of a person, not just physically, but mentally, but sort of a drunken bear. Antony is sort of like the high school football star who now the looks are fading, the energy is fading, and the only thing that invigorates him now is not the power, not the political rule, not any of that. He is in love with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. Antony and Cleopatra keep coming back to each other. Everything would be much better if they didn't, but they have a hold on each other that it's impossible to break. Cleopatra is warm and open and inviting, but also incredibly capricious. She could kill you or make love to you, or both at any moment. You'll never know what she's going to do next.
She's constantly looking for ways to get what she needs from people. She's very resourceful, and she's very smart, and she's cunning, and which makes her an amazing role to play. It's this beautiful challenge that I've sort of been chomping at the bit and waiting for, so I'm really excited about it.
They're both actors in a way. We don't get to see much of them privately. There's constantly other people in the scenes with them. And so there's always a question of how much of what they're doing is play acting, you know, for the public sphere, and how much is legitimate between them. And then the question with Cleopatra herself, and the one that Mark Antony has to deal with, is how much is political strategy and how much is genuine love. And that's a constant danger in the play. Also going on in the play is his battle with Octavius Caesar, who starts the play as one of his fellow triumvirates ruling Rome. They're both wrapping Lepidus around their finger. Really, it's not even a triumvirate. It's these two are running Rome. And Octavius is trying to build his empire, and Antony gave up a long time ago. He just wants to drink and sleep with Cleopatra and end his days that way. And Shakespeare won't let him, which is great. Octavius is young, he knows what he wants, and he's not distracted by love. And that's really the battle, is people's lives are lost in this play because Mark Antony and Cleopatra feel like satiating their desires at any given moment, but lives hang in the balance because of it.
I love that it's tragedy. There's a lot of comedy in it. There's a lot of romance in it, and it's historical. So you have all of this stuff wrapped up into one play. That's what gets me really excited about it.
We're also doing The Merchant of Venice. More promises broken and bastardized. There are vows, fiscal, love, sex, familial, that are made throughout the play and constantly broken over and over and over, and so we get to see the ramifications of that. The play belongs to Portia. There's very few plays in Shakespeare, or really anywhere, where the woman, it's her play. The play really is about Portia, who is this wealthy heiress living on her own private little island in Belmont, which is just outside of Venice. She and her gentlewoman Nerissa have to deal with this contest of suitors that her dead father has set up for her to find her a proper husband to take all the wealth. And the play opens with a lot of separate strings that don't come together really towards till the very end, and they're not wrapped up in a nice little bow. It's a tragic comedy. It's not funny, haha. It's funny, haha. Oh. The anti-Semitic nature, or just the anti-foreigner, any type of foreigner. A lot of them are made fun of in the play. We laugh at it at first, just like the Christian majority of the characters. And we don't notice how dangerous the comedy is in the beginning. It's, again, ethnocentricity. It's a fear of the unknown, and the play is very much about ignorance, which really is fear of that which we don't understand, or not willing to even try. And so Shakespeare is incredibly clever about leading us and Portia through the journey of, where we start in the play, where these things are sort of funny, to Act 4 with Shylock realizing foreigners are human beings, and that race, religion, creed, none of that takes away from the fact that everyone is a three-dimensional human being. The play then moves beyond that, fitting in with the whole broken promises section of that particular rep, like Antony Cleopatra and like The Winter's Tale. Portia, once she's chosen her husband ditches her on the day of their wedding to go save the man who is in love with him and has been financing most of his life for the last few years, that he's been feeding off of, basically. He goes to try and save him because Shylock wants a pound of his flesh. He is the title merchant, Antonio. And even though not remotely the largest character in the play is named after him. And he's going through his own problems. He commits fiscal suicide. At the top of the play, he's put all of his money out on the ocean, not the safest place to put it. His struggle is pretty fascinating because he's, on the one hand, he is an incredibly devout Christian, and on the other, he finds himself in love with Bassanio, someone maybe half his age, who's a dude, and that doesn't really go so well with the devout Christian side of things, and so that's a major struggle he's going through. Portia discovers that Bassanio is never going to be the husband that she needs, and she can't just sit in the passenger seat and let him be the man in the relationship, wear the pants. So she has to neutralize, or I suppose neuter is a good term, the relationship between Antonio and Bassanio. Portia makes Antonio give Bassanio her wedding ring. So in a fantasy world, Antonio would love to be at an approved gay marriage ceremony with Bassanio and putting his own ring on Bassanio's finger. Instead, he's humiliated, dejected to the point that he has to put Portia's wedding ring back on Bassanio's finger and realize he's never going to see him again. This is not a happy comedy ending. In terms of the Winter's Tale, the Winter's Tale is about two kingdoms, Sicilia and Bohemia. Sicilia is run by Leontes, who is cold, clinical, surgical, sort of straightforward, direct sort of ruler, and then Polixenes, who is his best friend and runs a neighboring kingdom, which is a little more open, earthy, warm, country sort of place. It covers King Leontes, who goes through a sort of Othello-like jealousy times a million for the first half of the play. And the first half of the play is very much an Othello-like tragedy, the first 3 acts, or 2.5 acts. He's basically consumed by the disease of envy. He thinks his wife, the queen, has been sleeping with his best friend, and that the baby inside of her belongs to his best friend. And he turns into a tyrant. This is not an evil human being. Leontes is someone whose mind is diseased. It's very easy in the society in which he rules to be incredibly paranoid, seeing things that aren't there. And it takes him over. He ends up indirectly sort of murdering his young boy, and he banishes his daughter, who's just born, around halfway through the play. And then, because it's Shakespeare, the play completely shifts tone. Sort of dwelling in that Othello-like space for 5 acts, we switch, we land in Bohemia, and we have a change of 16 years, and suddenly comedy, a sheep-shearing festival comedy. And then the play shifts tone again, and turns into this redemptive romance sort of quality, combining all the tragic, comedic. And this is happening in all 3 of the plays, because it's so hard to get the ends to tie up, and not all of them do. And again, it's that mess that I really like in great plays, particularly these 3.